Hey, it's question day. We're doing a series called Ask, and it stands for this: ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Something that Jesus said. And you know what? The important word there is shall. It says, when you ask, you will receive. When you seek, you will find. You knock and he will open the door. And it's not that, he's hiding in the corner somewhere or in the clouds or in some secret blessing or some blessing in disguise, but he's actually fully revealed himself. Jesus was the full revelation of the Father. We're not looking for the Father. We're not out hunting for him. We're not breaking down doors or knocking on doors trying to find him, trying to get answers from him. But you know what? Jesus was actually talking about how those things that you're seeking and asking and knocking for and doors you're trying to open, he says they will be opened. And Jesus on the cross answered all the ask questions. All the seeking was found and all the knocking was opened at the cross. His body revealed complete answer for everyone's questions. Everybody had questions. Who is God? What does he look like? Why are we here? What is our purpose? Do we have a Father that is good? Is he a judge that just condemns us and seeks to destroy us? Jesus answered all those questions. And today we want to answer the question about communion. What is communion? And I talked about it on Sunday. If you want to see the full version, you can watch the message on YouTube or on Facebook at Impact Eon. And communion is a big deal, especially from our culture where we come from. Communion is a big deal, and it was often a very scary thing. People were so afraid, and there was always the week before announcement: communion next Sunday. Make yourself ready. uh, I hope you're hearing what it sounds like. Let's first establish, why is communion? Why communion? What is communion? So first off, it had to start with someone, right? So Jesus introduced that in the Last Supper. And when he broke bread and he says, "This is my body. This is my body that is broken for you." And not just for the future, but for now. He says, "My body will be broken so your body can be made whole." Because our bodies are broken. Our bodies were affected by the sin and of the world. And he says, you need rescuing. And he says, my body's been broken for you. And then he takes the cup and he says, "This is my blood. Drink this blood." And Jesus said a few things about his blood. We often talk about his blood, and someone that doesn't have the context of Bible or church language, blood is often used as a covenant. When two people often make a covenant, a real covenant, we in our Western culture don't even understand covenant, but for those that do some research of what actual covenant means. It's not a contract. A covenant can't be broken. A covenant is something that you do with blood, and you both, like some people, they would both cut their hand and they would shake on it, and that's a blood covenant. And it's basically that we would stand, whatever we covenant we made, it stands forever. It even passes on to family generations. And Jesus, when he offered up that blood, his cup of blood, it was actually a covenant that he was making. He says, "This is the covenant I make with you." And that's what he says in John chapter 6. It's a bigger picture of what the communion table is all about. It's not about you making yourself ready, making yourself holy, and making yourself right with other people, which all those things are good. It's good to make it right with your friends and your family, your neighbors and your enemies. It's good. It's a good thing to do. And I'm not against any of those. But communion has nothing to do with your neighbor. It has nothing to do with your family. It has nothing to do with your church. It has nothing to do with that. It has all to do with Jesus. Jesus being broken for the world. It was not the Father breaking Jesus to avenge or to lash out and break out in anger at someone because he really was thirsty for blood. He's not a mafia boss that just needs to have some revenge, or somebody needs to pay in order to gain respect. Jesus' body was broken because all the sin of the world was put on him. He took it on, he absorbed it all, and he destroyed it all in his body. He absorbed it all and destroyed it in his body. And he took it down once and for all. So communion is that identification with him, that I died with him. My old nature, my broken self. Right now, you need to agree, my broken self, take that bread, my broken self broke with him. And my new self right now rose with him. And that broken identity, that false illusion of who I was and who God was it got destroyed, it broke and dissolved and expired at the cross and into the grave, and never to come out again. You don't have dead carcasses coming back to life in your life. You don't have dual natures trying to fight control in your life. Dual, that one nature, you had one nature before and you have one nature now. There was one nature before the cross and there's one nature after the cross. They can't cross over each other's pathways. That nature was gone, destroyed. We are now identified with Christ once and for all. And that blood covenant was sealed the deal. Jesus made a blood covenant with his disciples and with the world by pouring out his blood for all the world. His love was poured out in all the world. His sin, the sin that he paid for, was all people. All the sin of the world he paid for. He loved the world. He didn't love just the few that would say yes. He loved the world. And he says that means that the blood that was poured out on all means he made a covenant with all, and he tends to keep his covenant. He will never, ever break his promise. That is communion table. And you know what? Communion table is open. The church has prostituted this idea and has enslaved the thing that God meant to be freedom. The church has turned it into private club memberships for where God meant it to be all-inclusive for all. He turned the tables not just to be mad at what they were doing specifically in the church, but he was mad that they were stopping from people to come in. He said, "My house should be a house of prayer." And what did that mean? You know what happened after he did that? Children and women, people off the streets came in freely, children running around making noise. The Pharisees were flipping over this. But Jesus is like, this is what my house looks like. Everyone is welcome. The communion table is open for all to come and eat, because that's where life is. You want life for your neighbor? Invite him to communion, because he says this bread and this blood will give you life, and that more abundantly. Man, Jesus actually did do something. He actually made a change in this world for something good, not just for the future. He made a change for this world. He says, I've come to give you life. He didn't say, I've come to bring you to a new place where there will be life. He says, I've come to give you life in this world. Wow, eternity starts now, is now. It's not in the future. So you live in that reality already. So communion is identifying that, yes, I died with him and I rose with him, and I am in that covenant, because it's not my commitment with him. It's not my cleansing myself for him. It's not my commitment for him that gets me a seat at the table. It is his commitment to you that got you a seat at the table. Man, that is good news. Communion is the gospel in a cup.